the audiobook section that I have here, considering the fact that over my Plex server, physically, what I'm running and everything, um, I figured I'd do a little bit more of a in-depth look at the audiobook section that I have here, considering the fact that there aren't that many videos on the fact that Plex, while not specifically designed for audiobooks, it's more designed for music. Uh, it still can handle uh, a audiobook library. It's a little odd. There are little nuances that you're going to have to adjust to if you choose to go this route. I have physical audiobook media, so for me, it's, do I want to buy it again? I've got my own Audible library, yes, but I really don't want to, purchase what I already own again, especially since some of these audiobooks I have, it's not possible to get on the latest and greatest audio streams out there. There's a Dean Koontz book, not this one right here, but there's a Dean Koontz book called TikTok. Um, that the only way to get the audio book version that I like is to literally copy it off of or back it off of a cassette media, only because it was, that version was only ever released one time via cassette. It was never re-released on CD. The person who did the narration, which was beautifully done, um, never did it in any other media format, and it was never converted to CD, MP3, or any other type of audio format. Uh, so I'm actually in the process of getting that uh, copied. I had to physically buy, because my original copies, one of the cassettes went missing. Uh, so I had to repurchase it, unfortunately. Um, but yet again, there was no other way to do it. Uh, for these right here, like my Chronicles of Narnia ones, I've got a small box set. Why buy them again when I already physically own the media? Uh, Now, here's where the little nuances are going to be thrown at you. So, since this was designed, originally, Plex designed this just to do music, you're going to have to be going by the, the music categories: albums, album artists, titles, etc., things like that. And that kind of mixes things up if you're not careful. Um, I really love the collections feature that they have. That's allowed me to, get all of a series lined up. Um, and yes, I do realize that this is technically out of order. Um, I have no clue how in the world that happened. Let's, I think I have it set to where I can, yes, drag and drop it. Technically, The Musician's Nephew is the first book because it's a pre-book, or prequel, or whatever you want to call that. Any rate, it should retain that if I go out and come back in. No, it didn't. I'll have to play around with some settings to figure out why it's doing that. It is most likely because of the release year, so that's 2004. Um, this one's probably also 2005. I don't know why it's doing that. Those are the oddities that I'm talking about. That right there, I'll have to look into why it's doing that. And then, of course, if you go over here, if I switch over to, obviously, if I switch over to tracks, this is a little, it's a little awkward to listen to, you know, audiobooks this way. I mean, I'm sure there's a way you could do it, but I'm not sure exactly how I would go about doing this. And then, of course, you've got uh, albums, which is what I had it on, artists. So obviously, it's displaying whatever artist that the metadata or the metadata that it was pre-programmed with, or the tags that it was pre-programmed with, or if I specifically set them, and that's something you're probably going to have to do. Um, as for these pictures, um, that's me. I decided, well, I want to go ahead and I want to start getting some of these authors' pictures in here, just to clean it up, make it look a little bit better. Um, and then, of course, you've got folders, which this is probably the easiest way to do it because it's looking at your, uh, your computer's folder lineup, or how you've got your folders set up. So, um, for me, I'll bring it up here on my VPN's connection to my, or not VPN, RDP connection to my Windows device, which hosts my Plex server. And you see right here, here's my audiobooks folder. I go in there and you basically see the same outline as you do, or you did in the other, in the Plex server lineup. I need to clean this up a little bit. Things like this, those are all the same author, I believe, but then they've got, I think, a second author, or the person who reads it, or something like that. Um, I prefer to do something like my C.S. Lewis one here, or my River Song one here. Uh, keeping this clean helps you in the long run, but it also allows you to do things like this, which is, I know for a fact that I want to go ahead and uh, I want to go to the artist J.K. Rowling's. Apparently, that's for some reason an empty folder, and I don't know why. That is weird. Is my J.K. Rowling's folder? Oh, it must be one that I'm prepping for that I forgot about. But Stephen King. There we go. Uh, the Running Man, which is also a Stephen King one. So that's, you see, it's kind of a little dirty still. That should be underneath Stephen King. Uh, and of course, you can arrange this all whatever way you want. I just so happen to prefer to try and use either the author or something like this where it says Big Finish. Um, they're actually marked as the author, I believe, on these audiobooks in here. It's a little odd. Uh, but yeah, you could all. I mean, I could also do stuff like the Chronicles of Narnia instead of putting the author's name. It's up to you. It's totally your call. Uh, Whatever's easiest is probably the best way to go. You do have to be careful because if your metadata isn't correct, so like these books down here, the Old Man's War, I think it's called. Yeah, that series right there. When I first put it in, I had a ridiculous amount of audiobooks showing up as separate books, but then it would have the same cover art because it's pulling it from the computer, um, and it's pulling the data from the metadata tags on the audiobooks. So I had to go in and clean that all up, and basically the way you clean that up is using a piece of software, and I thought I had all my stuff up here. Um, there's a few of them out there. Um, I'm running a Linux box right now, but there are plenty of different softwares out there that are for all the different types of OSs. They all do the exact same thing. They're all designed to grab your file, show you the metadata, and let you change it. Um, this X Falso is a really good one. Um, that other one that I showed, K Kid 3, I think there's a variant for Windows for that. Um, I will reference there are plenty of sites out there that will tell you, hey, um, if you're doing this, go ahead and use this software. So here we go, MP3 tag. That is a good one for Windows, I believe. Um, sorry, Mac users, I honestly don't know what you guys have. I know you guys have your own audiobooks library software for if you want to store it locally on your Mac device. Um, maybe that allows you to make tag changes, but I honestly don't know. Um, I will try and remember to go ahead and put these sites in the video description or somewhere down below, because I will be referencing these a little bit, because there's just so much when it comes to audiobooks. Uh, and I'm making it sound harder than it is. It's honestly not that hard. Uh, Especially if you're used to, managing a Plex server and doing the little nuances of changing the name, and oh, Plex isn't picking up that I changed the name, so now I have to, you know, do some moving around. So, I'll have to go to my folders, take this, take it out of, put in the root over here, have Plex rescan so it goes away, um, and then come back in here and empty the trash. So that way, the server clears out the data that it had pulled from Audible. Audible is what I use for my audiobooks, but this can apply to the TV database or the movie database that Plex pulls from, or that you have Plex pull from. Um, and then, of course, you would take that after you made sure that it was all correct. You throw it back where you want it again, and then come back in here and have it rescan, and it would repopulate. And then hopefully this time around it would show up correctly. Um, that's for me. That's always been the easiest way to purge out incorrect data due to a tag or a file name, being incorrect, off, or misspelled, so Plex misidentifies it. Um, and just so you guys know, if you don't know about collections, how to do that, basically all you do is you go into your editing features. Um, you're going to go to tags, and then right here you'll type in what you want the collection name to be, and then from then on it should show up in the drop down. It might not. You might have to manually retype it. Just make sure that it's exactly the same, because otherwise it'll show up as another collection. Um, That being said, uh, going back to how this is displayed, so these are all the exact same author. This is one of the reasons why I like showing it as albums, and then um, by album artist. I could do title, which makes it easier to find if you know the name off the top of your head. But I prefer artist, which would be the author, uh, which I need to fix some of them because this right here, for some reason, I didn't put the author. Instead, I put the uh, person reading the book for my Doctor Who series is here instead. Um, there is actually a chart when it comes to what the way things need to be lined up if you're using Audible for your metadata um, uh, tagging or your metadata linking. Um, I have a little form here that I went ahead and grabbed, and it's just what the tag in an in MP3 tag. That's the of course that program I was talking about earlier. Uh, what it equals when it's referring to audible.com. So I need to sit down and go through some of my books and correct that. Um, my Chronicles of Narnia here, they're actually pretty good. They're pretty almost spot on. I can click on the name of the author. I've got all the books showing. I can click on the name of the book, and boom, I've got my book showing. And then, of course, the fact that they're segregating into the different discs. Um, when it comes to certain ones, this one right here, and actually all of these uh, have their own. So each one of those discs had like 3 or 4 copies of the audiobook in different formats. Uh, I could have done the individual uh, one file per disc or the one file for all. I I prefer kind of keeping it towards the what it was originally made for, which is you put the one disc in and it goes through the different chapters. Um, that's my preference, of course. That you can do whatever it is you want. Um, going back over here to talk a little bit about how to set this up. Uh, you're going to set it up almost exactly like. Actually, it is all. Yeah, it's close. It's almost exactly like you would. Oops, I am going in the wrong spots. Um, and that is people. And I am all over the place today. Alerts, conversations. Where are you? Libraries. That's the wrong type of libraries. Manage libraries. So right here you can see, and actually this has changed. Plexus is always updating stuff, so I'm I didn't even know some of this. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, this is if you what you want to show up on the home pages. Okay, all right. Any rate, so for me, when you select it, somebody said, like one of the forums said, set up as on other videos or other. Um, the the one that said other no longer exists, even if you're a premium member. I just went with what one of the other sites said and said, clicked on music, named it, referred to my audiobook path. If I had more than one, then I would have entered, multiple. And then in here, standard scanner. So I have audiobooks for my agent, and there's a specific way to do that. By default, that would not be there. Um, and then also the fact that I've got audible.com. I'm in the US, so uh, it's .com for us here. If you're in the UK, I would assume this .co.uk is y'all's. Um, I'm guessing this is France. Yeah, I don't know. But here in the US, this is what you would most likely be using. Um, Most of this is up to you. Uh, there are suggestions about preferring local metadata. Uh, you want to store your generally when it comes to audiobooks, you want to make sure that it remembers where you were left off. So you want to make sure to hit store track progress. It's not perfect. It doesn't always work. Um, that being said, my dad has issues occasionally. I very rarely have any type of issue, but I do use the Plex Amp app separately from my regular Plex app on my cell phone and tablets, um, just so that way a less chance of an oopsie. Uh, Artist bios. That's supposed to pull some the author's bios since it's set to Audible, but it does, as you saw, it really doesn't. I don't. Plex really doesn't say much that they're going to be working on compatibility with audio stuff. They have added some features in the Plex amp. If you go into some sub settings, you can add the backwards 10-second button and forwards 30-second button, kind of like a regular audiobooks app would have. Um, but besides that, they really haven't done much when it comes to audiobooks that I've seen. I might be wrong, but that's what I've seen. Uh, Obviously, I'm using tags, embedded tags, um, and then I pull from both the music and local files for my album art. Um, it says music, but that's only because this is considered a music library. Um, what it will actually pull from, and sorry if the bright light hurts. Um, so that right there, it's gonna pull this and use that for the album art, which is technically the cover art for the audiobook. Uh, Besides that, you're gonna over here in the agent section under albums, I have an audiobook section. Um, right now, it's set to Audible, of course. I don't really have this local media assets set for albums. I don't think it was recommended to set that. Uh, Last FM, personal media data albums. Uh, but the main thing was the audiobooks one. Now, let's go back to talking a little bit about referencing other sites and the fact that they have kind of like a layout for you to go by. Um, here's one right here. It's a GitHub one reference, and it basically walks you through um, getting your Audible link, which is not not link per se, but it's the metadata agent. Um, you're going to have to download some stuff. You're going to have to download your master image or whatever that is, and the source that basically tells the system, hey, look over here type thing. Um, so doing all this will basically say, Plex, when you're collecting data for, to identify these, excuse me, um, go to audible.com. Uh, and I don't think, no, I remember it saying somewhere, I might be wrong. I could have swore I remember seeing somewhere where it said uh, that it was pulling for Audible or something like that. But at any rate, um, and I will try to remember to include this link when I upload this video in the description area. Um, there's also other sites that you might want to look at. This one right here talks about another application. Actually, this is the same one, and this one is a good one. It's that same MP3 tag application. Uh, Now it also talks about the metadata scraper, but here they're using another one, and then it also talks about kind of where to put the everything and how to correctly set up. This option is no longer available, from what I understand. This section is completely gone. Um, Plex no longer has this in there, so the site's a little out of date. Um, for the most part, though, as you can see, I have similar settings. It works, except for this section right here. Um, Pretty much, you're just going to ignore the whole. Make sure it says um, basic library thing. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so another site, which is what I was referencing before. This one right here gives you a quick talk through um, on you know the the setup, what you want it to kind of look like. Uh, you can kind of see the AMP app, but that's actually, I think this is another app that they're talking about. Unless, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. This does not look right. It's probably advertisement for another app. Be careful about the other apps. I've had very little success with apps that integrate with Plex for audiobooks. I think I've only ever gotten one other one to work. Um, Besides that, this one gives a nice explanation of tagging. And then, of course, it talks about the agents uh, and kind of like tips and tricks. This is where I pulled that sheet reference from on what tag equals what. Uh, and just so to get a little reference, so I'll go ahead and open up. We'll do C.S. Lewis, Prince Caspian, and then boom, there you go. This one also has a tracker, or for multiple tracks. So if I wanted to, uh, and they're completely out of order, so you have to be careful on that. But no, they're in order. What about it? Yeah, okay. Uh, So for this one, if I was, I basically it allows me to change the track number. Um, you can also do that in here, so you can see right there track number, disc number. So that's how it knows what disc grouping to put it in on the Plex server. Uh, Everything that you change in here should reflect on the Plex server. I would say do all your tagging first, clean it all up, sort everything in whatever folder you want, and then put that parent folder inside of your audiobook folder for Plex to scan. Uh, that way you're not having to pull it back out, pull all the audiobooks back out, put them back in, and deal with all that back and forth, um, and trying to clean up messes. Get it all programmed out first. Get your pathing down. Get your tags down. Be extremely careful with your tags. Um, if your artist says, in my case, it says C.S. Lewis, but you can see it says C dot space S dot space Lewis. If one of these says C dot no space S, it's going to show up differently. It's going to say, oh, um, this is another artist. Okay, well, we're going to segregate it uh, from everything by this other artist, which is C dot space S dot space Lewis. It's understandable why it does that. It's just you have to be careful on that. So yeah, make sure to get your tagging correct. I think that's just about everything to go over when it comes to you know running down with Plex and well, at least how my setup is currently done. Um, Hopefully, somebody out there, will add some additional information in the comments. Maybe this will spur the others that have audiobook libraries. I mean, albeit mine is kind of small, but maybe somebody with a bigger library will display how they have theirs set up, or you know, uh, do some videos of tips and tricks and things like that. Uh, Never know, but I know when I was trying to get mine set up, it was a bit of a pain because I was having to go all over the place and nobody did any videos on this. So uh, there you guys go. Uh, have a great day. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody out there.